$150 an hour. At $150 a pop, I expect us to be the most in-love couple on the entire damn planet. I expect champagne and roses. I expect a limo ride to Le Barnardin in Manhattan, for Christ's sake. My husband was not tight. No, tight would have been a vast improvement from, say, the Ebenezer Scrooge School for Penny Pinchers. So when he agreed to marriage counseling, I was floored. I was genuinely touched. I was utterly confused. Maybe he really did want to work on us. Maybe he was afraid that the essential we was slipping away after 12 years of marriage. Once upon a time, Friday nights were my favorite. After work, we would order a pizza, sit in front of the fireplace. We would watch a movie, just the two of us, and generally only make it about halfway through. Blankets spread on the floor. I'll let you fill in the rest of the details. Friday nights now were of a very different kind. We would still order pizza, that line in the sand halfway down the middle, anchovy versus black olive. He'd take his and sit in front of the TV watching SportsCenter, while I was usually at the dining room table with a book or crossword. And as for the blanket on the floor scenario, well, let's just say Buster's newly claimed bed. "So what are you going to tell him?" he defensively questioned. "I have no idea what I'm going to say. I've never done this before either, remember?" "Well, this had better work," he warned. "Yes, I know, at $150 an hour. I got it. It's expensive. But isn't it worth $150 an hour to try and fix us?" "I didn't know we were broken," he remarked, clueless to the bitter end. "We haven't had sex in over a year." "And whose fault is that?" he griped. "I've tried. At least I've made an effort." "Oh, yes, sitting on the couch in a beer-splattered t-shirt while belching like a truck driver and simultaneously scratching yourself, grumbling, 'Are we ever going to do it again?' Stand back, ladies. He's all mine." I don't blame him, but I'm not going to take all the blame either. As they say, it takes two to tango. Or rather, leave the dance floor altogether, hold up the wall drink in hand, and sadly wonder where the tango went. At least the tango had emotion. At least the tango had heat. And at least the tango involved touching. "You're pissed that I don't bring you flowers anymore? That's what this is about?" he said dismissively after we'd been in counseling for a full 90 seconds. "Yes, genius, all of the problems of our marriage can be traced back to the fact that you lost the florist's phone number," I replied. Now, I don't think that your wife is talking about actual flowers per se. Flowers are symbolic of something larger, another break, if you will, in the line of communication, right? The fastidious, balding, cardigan-wearing psychiatrist nodded at me. Exactly what I'd always envisioned one of these guys would look like. A modern-day Sigmund Freud without the facial hair. My husband wasn't listening. He was looking at his watch repeatedly and with great fanfare. "The flowers always just end up dead within a couple of days. She never remembers to water them. And then there goes $20 in the garbage. Doesn't seem like a worthwhile investment," he complained. "Maybe if you stopped thinking about it as an investment and tried looking at it as a thoughtful gesture," I reasoned. "You don't even have to buy the damn things. I swear the best bouquet you ever got me was when, a couple of years after we were married, you went into the backyard and cut down those lilacs and then tied them up with my silky blue scrunchie. That nearly brought tears to my eyes. That's what I'm talking about, not $20. Why was he such a wall of obstinance? He was infuriating. "Well, now your wife has a very good point," the psychiatrist said in his gentlest feel-good Dr. Phil fashion. "Why is it just me who's lacking in the thoughtfulness department? I used to come home when we were first married and she seemed genuinely excited to see me. She'd run up to the door and greet me with an affectionate hug and kiss. You know what she does now? Yells in from the kitchen, 'Is that you?' That's because this isn't 1953 and I'm not June Cleaver. Shall I greet you with a freshly mixed martini in your evening paper?" I bit back. "Well, it'd be nice for a change," he scowled. Okay, let's take a breath and refrain from shouting at one another. Obviously, you both have some unprocessed anger, and I fear that you are using these surface-level arguments to mask a deeper hurt. Great. The jargon-laden lecture. Maybe this was a bad idea. Maybe in part all I wanted was to come here in order to unleash my pent-up rage at this man, this life partner of mine, and have the doctor validate my complete rightness and his undeniable wrongness. Case closed, I win, we go home and resume marriage under my obviously intelligent conditions rather than his ridiculously idiotic notions. That's what I'd imagined when I proposed counseling, but now that I was here, not so much. What I would like to do, the so-called marriage mender continued, is an exercise in which you write down one thing that your partner has done at some point in your relationship that's made you feel hurt or neglected, and then also one thing that's made you feel especially loved. Let's start with that which has caused you to feel bad about the relationship. You gotta be kidding me. No way this cheap bastard's gonna pay for that much time, I said snarkily. He gave us each a legal pad and pen. Mr. Therapy is for the birds over there started scribbling furiously. Oh yeah? Well, take this. When we were finished, the doctor collected our answers and then began reading. Mine first. Yeah, take that. So this says the edible body paint incident. Oh, come on, that again? My husband petulantly interjected. The doctor stayed his outburst by holding up his hand and then said to me, "Please, can you explain out loud now what that means?" "Certainly," I smirked wryly. He'd been away for a week on business. This was about 2 years ago now. I thought I'd do a little something to spice things up, and as he so adamantly pointed out, greet him with some form of affection. "Can we please move on from—" "I believe I am the one speaking now," I snipped. Anyway, so I bought body paints that were also, well, lickable. I scrawled "Welcome Home" from my neck all the way down to my ankles, and then another little extra special message on my, backside. Very sexy. I lit candles, got champagne, the whole 9 yards. So he walks in the front door. I'm there waiting, seductively sprawled across the couch, wearing the aforementioned paint and nothing else. And when he first came in, his eyes about popped out of his head. The first words out of his mouth were, "Do you have that stuff on your ass too? This sofa is brand new. Do you know how much it cost?" On and on and on until I finally just gave up, blew out the candles, and went to shower. Welcome home. Honestly, the humiliation I felt that night, the sheer rejection, was indescribable. When you put yourself out there, literally, and then to have him launch into a 30-minute rant on the impossibility of steam cleaning microfiber, I still get a lump in my throat when I remember it. "Okay, thank you. Before we start to break any of this apart, let's look at what you wrote," he said, gesturing toward my husband, whose face looked little abashed after listening to my story. "You have here, 'My boss's Christmas party.' Can you elaborate?" "Are you serious? That wasn't about you being hurt. That was about you being embarrassed. I didn't intentionally—" The doc then ceremoniously shushed me. "I'm not the storyteller that she is," he condescendingly mocked, "but let's just say, unable to handle her liquor at my boss's annual Christmas party, she got drunk, vomited on the bathroom floor, after which she went completely comatose, and the next thing I know, Stan from accounting is carrying her out of there. To top it off, she had her blouse off, and she's wearing a bra. A sports bra." I truly think the fact that I was wearing a Walmart brand sports bra is what proved most humiliating for him in that whole debacle of an evening. "You try shoving these things into underwire and the scratchiest lace on the planet for hours on end," I barked. The rest of the session, well, okay, we did get to the good moments. Me, when upon having my appendix out 8 years ago, he completely spoiled me. Cooked for me, cleaned the house, helped me to the bathroom, even called his mom to get her chicken soup recipe. I'd never felt so cared for. And him, when we were dating, and he got this new job, he said that the next night we'd gone to my family's for dinner, and I just kept gushing to everyone about how proud I was, about how I never doubted him, about what an amazing and caring man he was in general. I never knew that evening had resonated with him in quite that way. I could barely recall it, and I felt bad for that. On the ride home, we were basically silent. At one point, he had to stop fast as a car cut us off. He reached his arm out to shield me. Reflex or real concern? I wasn't sure. But it did feel kind of teenagey. We smiled at one another, albeit hesitantly. We sat in the parked car in the driveway, engine idling. He turned to me, his face looking as though he'd been through a war. "So what do we do?" he quietly asked. "I don't know," I said. "I guess we go back next week and try again." Though I genuinely had no idea how to respond to such a vast and parameter-less question. He took my hand, just for a second. "You know, maybe we—" he began, But then he stopped and let go. What? I wanted him to finish his thought. I needed him to finish. I guess, like you said, we go back and try again, he echoed, his shoulders slumping. Okay, I responded. I then got out of the car, shutting the door behind me.